The alien auction house. The room was dark. Smoke floated in the air. Bright lights flashed from above. Aliens from all corners of the galaxy sat in silence watching the stage. This was not an ordinary place. This was the Black Star Auction House, a hidden market where rare and dangerous beings were sold to the highest bidder. Slaves, weapons, beasts. Everything had a price here. One by one, the cages were brought to the center. The announcer, a tall insect-like alien with a sharp voice, shouted, "Next item, a warrior from the fire planet Arvok. Strong arms, can lift a cargo ship." Bids came fast. 30,000 credits, someone yelled. 50, shouted another. The warrior was sold in minutes. Another cage rolled out. A twin-headed reptile, great for defense, sold again, quickly. Loud cheers followed. But then, silence. The next cage came forward. It was bigger than the others. Strong metal, bars, energy locks. Inside, curled in the corner, sat a girl. She looked young, but wild. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Her hair was silver like moonlight. Her skin was a soft shade of violet. But it wasn't her beauty that made the crowd nervous. It was the scars. The burn marks. The damage to the cage. The announcer cleared his throat. "Our last item tonight is special." The screen behind him lit up. It showed footage, guards trying to touch the girl, only to be thrown back like toys. One man had lost his arm. Another was in a coma. "She is half Synthari, half unknown species," the announcer said. "No one has ever tamed her. She is fast, deadly, and impossible to control." The crowd stayed quiet. "Starting bid, 10,000 credits," he called out. No one moved. 5,000? Still no hand raised. 2,000, the announcer tried. Nothing. Fear spread in the room. The girl looked up. Her eyes burned with anger. She grabbed one of the bars and growled. The announcer laughed nervously. "Yes, she's spirited." Suddenly, a calm voice echoed from the back. "I'll take her." Heads turned. A human stepped forward. He wore a simple jacket, dust on his boots, no guards, no weapons, just a calm smile. The announcer blinked. "You want to buy her?" "Yes," the human said. "Do you understand what she is? She has attacked buyers. She broke out of 3 cages. She bit off someone's finger." The human nodded. "I know." Whispers filled the room. "He's crazy," someone said. "He'll be dead in hours," another muttered. But the human didn't care. He walked to the front and placed a small metal cube on the table. It lit up, confirming payment. "Sold," the announcer said, confused. Guards looked nervous as they unlocked the cage. The girl didn't run. She stared at the human. Her eyes narrowed, her muscles tensed, ready to attack. The human didn't flinch. He stepped forward slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. "You're free now." The girl didn't speak. She didn't move. But something in his voice made her pause. The guards shoved her toward him. She stumbled. Her chains rattled. But she didn't bite. Not yet. The human turned and walked away, and the girl followed, still growling under her breath. The crowd watched in silence. No one had ever dared take her. No one believed she could be handled, but the human had done it with no fear. As the doors closed behind them, one alien leaned to another and whispered, "He just bought death." But outside, under the cold stars, the human looked at the girl and smiled. "My name is Jace," he said. The girl didn't reply. "That's okay. You don't have to talk." "Not yet." He handed her a piece of bread. She stared at it, then at him, slowly. She took it. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't like the others, and maybe she wasn't beyond saving after all. The untamed one. The girl sat quietly in the corner of the transport shuttle. Her hands were still in cuffs, but her eyes were free, sharp, watching, waiting. The human, Jace, didn't speak much. He flew the Ship with calm hands checking the controls, sipping something warm from a metal cup. Every few minutes he looked back at her. Not with fear, not with anger, but with curiosity. She didn't understand him. Back at the auction house, everyone had either shouted at her, shocked her, or kept their distance. No one dared come close. No one spoke softly. No one treated her like a person. But Jace had done something no one else did. He gave her food, and then he walked away, trusting her not to bite. She had thought about attacking him. Many times. She could break his neck. She had done worse before. But something stopped her. He didn't chain her to a wall. He didn't insult her. He didn't treat her like a monster. He even hummed while flying the ship. That was new. Later, the ship landed on a quiet green moon. Mist floated above the grass. Strange glowing flowers blinked in the dark. The wind was soft. Jace opened the door and stepped outside. Then, without turning back, he said, "Come out if you want. Stay if you don't." She was confused. Was this a trick? Slowly, she walked to the edge of the ship's door. She sniffed the air. No soldiers, no guns, no cages, just wind and stars. She stepped out, expecting a trap, but nothing happened. Jace sat on a rock, looking up at the sky. He pointed at a star. "That one," he said, "is where I was born." She didn't speak. He pointed again. "And that one? That's where I almost died." Her eyes narrowed. Why was he telling her this? "I've seen a lot," he said. "But I've never met someone like you," she growled. Low, warning. He smiled. "It's okay. You don't trust me. I wouldn't either." Silence. Then he stood up, walked a few steps toward her, and held out a metal key. She flinched. He didn't move further. "This unlocks your cuffs," he said. Her eyes widened. Was this some kind of test? "Take it," he said. "You can run, you can fight, or you can just breathe." He placed the key on a rock and walked away, turning his back to her. She stared at the key for a long time. Minutes passed. Then she took it. With shaking fingers, she unlocked her cuffs. The metal dropped to the grass. She looked at her wrists. Red, scarred, finally free. But she didn't run. Instead, she sat on the ground. Not close to Jace, but not far either. For the first time in years, she chose to stay. That night, Jace built a small fire. She watched him carefully. He didn't offer orders. He didn't speak unless she looked at him. He placed 2 food packs by the fire, one for himself, one for her. She slowly reached for it, ate without rushing, still watching him. After eating, she leaned against a tree. Her claws rested on her knees just in case. Jace leaned back, arms behind his head, looking at the stars again. "You don't have a name?" he asked. No reply. "I'll call you Ember then," he said. "Because there's a fire inside you, and I think it's still alive." She didn't answer, but something flickered in her eyes. A memory. Someone once called her something else, long ago. But that name was taken from her, burned away. Now, someone gave her a new one. Ember. She whispered it under her breath. Just once. Jace didn't say anything, but he smiled, because he heard it. In the silence of that alien moon, an untamable girl sat beside the only human who didn't try to break her, and without knowing why, she felt safer than she ever had. A dangerous bond begins. The sun rose slowly on the misty moon. A soft golden light touched the trees, the ground, and the 2 strange figures sitting in silence. One human, one not. Ember didn't sleep much. Her eyes stayed open all night. Her instincts warned her this could still be a trick. But Jace slept beside the fire. No weapons, no traps. Just his jacket as a pillow and a calm breath in his chest. He trusted her. Why? Ember stood and walked around, him in circles. Her bare feet made no sound. She could kill him before he even woke up. One move, 1 second. That's all it would take. But she didn't. She looked at his face instead. No anger, no chains, just peace. Something about him confused her. No one had ever treated her like this. Not the scientists who studied her, not the guards who shocked her, not the auctioneers who caged her. Jace was different. Later that morning, Jace opened his eyes and smiled like it was just another day. "Morning," he said casually. She didn't answer, just stared at him. He stood, stretched, and handed her a new piece of fruit. Bright orange, sweet smell. She took it, slowly. "Thought we could move today," Jace said. "There's a supply station nearby, quiet place. Might find something useful." She tilted her head. "We?" He was speaking like they were a team. He walked ahead, never forced her to follow, never looked back. But Ember followed anyway. On the way, they passed through an alien forest. The trees were tall and silver. The leaves glowed like soft lanterns. Small creature ran in front of them. It looked like a rabbit with wings. Ember stepped back, ready to attack. Jace laughed. "It's harmless." She frowned. Harmless? She had never known anything harmless before. Everything in her life had been a weapon or an enemy. As they walked, Jace spoke. Not much, just little things. Stories about Earth, about dogs and rain, about music. Ember didn't know what music was, but when he hummed again, she tilted her head listening. The sound felt good. What was that feeling? Comfort? Later they reached the station, an abandoned outpost built by smugglers. Rusted, empty, half buried in the ground. Jace entered first, scanning with a small device. No traps, no life signs. Ember followed, alert. Inside, Jace found an old locker. Inside was a soft gray jacket. He tossed it to Ember. "Thought you might want something warmer," he said. She caught it in the air but didn't put it on. She stared at it. Nobody had ever given her anything without wanting something back. She held the jacket close but said nothing. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the metal walls. Ember spun around, claws out. Jace pulled a small laser pistol from his belt and stepped in front of her. A wild alien creature, spiky, fast and hungry, rushed from the shadows. Jace fired once. Missed. It leapt forward. Before he could fire again, the creature was in the air, claws out, heading straight for Jace's chest. And then, it dropped. Dead. Ember stood over it. Her claws dripped blue blood. She had protected him, for the first time. Jace blinked, breathing hard. "You okay?" She growled, not at him, but at the dead beast. He nodded. "Thanks." She didn't understand why she had done it. She could have let the thing kill him. She could have run, but she didn't. She saved him. Why? That night, back. At their camp, Ember sat quietly. She finally wore the jacket. It was soft, warm, too big for her. Jace handed her another food pack. "You didn't have to protect me," he said. She stared at the fire. "You wanted to." She looked away. "You're not what they said you are," he said gently. "You're not a monster." She closed her eyes. His voice was dangerous in a new way, not with force, but with kindness. Kindness was a strange weapon. It made her heart feel weak, and she didn't know how to fight that. In the distance, under the trees, something watched them. A small red light blinked. A camera, and miles away, someone was watching the feed. "She's still alive," a voice whispered. "And she's with a human." The screen zoomed in on Ember's glowing eyes. "She's bonding. That's a problem." Orders were given. Ships were prepared. They were coming, and this time, they wouldn't ask nicely. The mark on her back. The wind howled across the cold moon. Ember sat by the fire, back turned to Jace, her eyes fixed on the glowing trees in the distance. She hadn't spoken, but something in her had changed. She had saved him, and now She didn't know who she was anymore. Jace, meanwhile, sat quietly nearby, looking at her with a thoughtful gaze. The way she moved, the way she fought, it wasn't random. It was trained, controlled. Like a soldier. He was sure of one thing. Now she wasn't just some wild creature, she had a past, a purpose. He just didn't know what it was. Later, while Ember slept for the first time in front of him, Jace noticed something strange. Her jacket had slipped off one shoulder. And there, glowing faintly under the moonlight, was a symbol on her back. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. A tattoo? A scar? No. It looked like an old brand. But the design was not from any species he recognized. A circular mark, with ancient lines crossing through it. Jace narrowed his eyes. Carefully, without waking her, he took a picture with his scanner. The scanner beeped quietly. Symbol match 2%. Unknown origin. Closest match, Royal Crest, Lost Zinthari Dynasty. Jace sat back, stunned. She's royalty? The next morning, Ember woke and saw him looking at her strangely. Her body tensed. "You saw it," she said. Her voice was low, rough from disuse. Jace didn't deny it. "Yeah, I did." She looked away. "It means nothing now," she muttered. "I don't think so," he said gently. "They're tracking you, aren't they?" She froze. "I saw a red light in the woods last night," he added. "Someone's watching us." Her hands curled into fists. "They always watch," she whispered. "Who are they?" She didn't answer at first, then slowly her voice broke through. "I was born to a royal house, the last one. We were wiped out in a rebellion. I was taken as a child, experimented on, sold again and again. They erased my name, my past, my blood." Her eyes glowed with silent rage. "That mark is all that's left." Jace didn't speak for a while. Then he stood and picked up his bag. "We need to move." She looked at him, confused. "You still want me around? Even after knowing what I am?" "You're not a what," he said. "You're a who. And yeah, I'm not leaving you behind." Ember didn't reply, but she followed him anyway. They traveled deeper into the forest. The trees grew taller. The air got colder. Suddenly, a sound echoed, metal on stone. Ember grabbed Jace's shoulder and pushed him down. She pointed up. Drones, small, fast, silent, with red eyes. 3 of them. "They've found me," she hissed. Jace pulled out his pistol, but Ember shook her head. "No use. They'll call more. So what do we do?" She looked around, thinking fast. "Bait them, then disappear." "You sure?" She nodded. They ran in opposite directions. The drones followed Ember. Jace watched from the trees. She moved like smoke, fast, silent, powerful. One drone came too close. She jumped, spun in the air, and slashed it clean in half. The others fired stun blasts, but she rolled, dodged, and vanished into the shadows. Then silence. Moments later, Ember reappeared beside Jace. He blinked. "That was amazing." She smirked slightly. Just for a second. But before they could move again, a loud boom echoed through the trees. A ship. No, not just a ship. A war cruiser. Black. Heavy. With symbols from an empire thought long dead. It hovered above them like a giant shadow. Light scanned the forest. A robotic voice echoed across the valley. "Royal subject identified. Surrender or be neutralized." Jace pulled Ember behind a rock. "Who the hell are these guys?" he whispered. "They were the ones who started the rebellion," Ember said. Her voice shook. "They feared my bloodline would return. And now they know it has." Suddenly, a figure stepped out of the ship. Tall, armored, holding a staff that glowed red. He looked straight at Ember. "You were supposed to be dead," the figure said. Ember stepped forward, defiant. "Yeah," she growled. "So were you. Enemies from the stars." The enemy ship hovered like a giant shadow over the forest, its engines humming with deep, angry sound. Birds scattered. The trees trembled. The ground itself seemed afraid. Jace gripped his pistol tightly, eyes locked on the massive cruiser above. Beside him, Ember stood tall. No chains, no cuffs, just her breath misting in the cold air and a fire burning behind her eyes. A voice boomed again from above. "This is Commander Varnak of the Crimson Reclaimers. Hand over the royal-blooded traitor, and the human may walk free." Ember didn't blink. Jace turned toward her. "They're giving me an out." "I heard," she said quietly. "You think I'll take it?" She didn't reply, but deep in her chest her heart tightened. She had seen humans betray others for less. Instead, Jace took a step in front of her and raised his middle finger to the sky. Commander Varnak's voice crackled again. "So be it. Begin extraction." With that, the sky split open with light. Dozens of drop pods shot down from the ship, crashing into the forest like metal comets. Out of each pod came armored soldiers, tall, alien, cold, and fast, weapons loaded. Orders given: find the girl, kill the human. Jace grabbed Ember's arm. "We move. Now." They sprinted through the forest, dodging between glowing trees and moss-covered rocks. Blasts fired behind them, blue beams cutting through trees like paper. "Left." Ember shouted, taking the lead. She leaped over a fallen trunk and disappeared into a narrow cave. Jace followed, breathing hard. "You know this place?" "No," she said, "but I'm tired of running." Inside the cave, Ember moved with quiet grace. Her claws slid out, gleaming in the dark. "3 soldiers entering," she whispered. Jace peeked around the stone corner. "I count 4. They always hide one behind," she said calmly. Then she vanished. In seconds, there were screams. "Sharp! Quick!" Jace rushed forward and saw her standing over the bodies. She wasn't panting. She wasn't shaking. She was calm, like she was built for this. Outside, more soldiers landed. Dozens now. Varnak himself stepped onto the surface. He was huge, part machine, part flesh. His red eyes scanned the forest like a predator. "She will return," he said. "That blood cannot hide forever." Deep in the cave, Ember stared at her hands. Blood dripped down her claws. "I used to be one of them," she said softly. "Trained by them. Before they betrayed me." Jace put a hand on her shoulder. "You're not one of them anymore." She looked at him. "What if I can't be anything else?" "You can," he said. "You already are." They moved deeper into the tunnels until they reached a wide underground chamber. In the center stood an ancient alien machine, long dead, covered in vines and dust. "What is this?" Jace asked. Ember walked toward it slowly. "A pulse node. My people built these long ago to send power through planets and messages across stars. Can it still work? I don't know." She touched the center panel. Her hand glowed. The machine woke up. Old lights flickered. The walls hummed. Symbols danced in the air, floating, spinning, changing. The node pulsed once, then again. A message went out, far, far away in the dark edge of space. Something heard it, something old and angry. Outside, Varnak's ship began to shake. He looked up. "What is that sound?" A soldier answered. "It's a pulse wave from the old network. Someone's activating the deep links." "Impossible," Varnak growled. "That system is dead." But the red light on the ship began to flicker. Something was coming, and Varnak realized she had awakened it. Back inside the cave, Ember dropped to her knees. "It worked," she whispered. "I called for help from those who still remember me." Jace crouched beside her. "How many still live?" "I don't know," she said. "But they'll come." He smiled. "That's better than nothing." But before they could speak, more of the wall behind them exploded. Varnak stepped through, dragging his heavy weapon behind him. "Enough games," he growled. "Your bloodline ends now." Jace raised his pistol. Ember stood, fire in her veins. "No," she said. "It begins again." The truth. She never knew. The blast had shaken the cave walls, but Ember stood firm. Dust fell around her. Firelight flickered across her silver skin. Varnak's heavy footsteps echoed as he entered the ancient chamber. His eyes glowed with red, rage. His armor buzzed with energy. "You were a mistake," he growled. "Your blood should have been burned from history." Jace stood beside Ember, pistol raised. His hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with readiness. "Stay behind me," he told Ember. But Ember didn't move. Her glowing eyes stayed locked on Varnak. "No," she said. "This ends with me." Suddenly, the ancient pulse node beside them let out a hum. A beam of light shot upward from it, passing through rock clouds in space, signaling across the stars. Varnak flinched. "What did you do?" Ember didn't answer, because something inside her had just changed. She collapsed to her knees. Jace caught her before she hit the ground. Her body trembled. Her breathing grew heavy. Ember, but she didn't hear him. Her mind was being pulled backward, back into her past. Memory flash, she was young, barely walking. Her hair glowed brighter then. She stood in a hall of crystal and gold. Dozens of aliens bowed before her. Her mother sat on a floating throne, tall, beautiful, royal. "Your name," the queen said, smiling, "is Ember Ali Saran, and one day you will carry the crown of our people." Then came the explosions. Fire, screams, betrayal. Her guards turned on her family. Her mother fell. A soldier dragged her away. That soldier was Varnak. Back to present, Ember opened her eyes. Tears streamed down her face. "I remember," she whispered. Jace leaned in. "Remember what?" "My name, my family, everything." She turned slowly toward Varnak. "You were there," she said, her voice rising. "You murdered my mother. You destroyed our home." Varnak stepped forward, unfazed. She was weak. She believed in peace. "I brought order." "You brought chains," Ember growled. Her claws slid out again, longer, sharper, glowing with energy. But something else happened too. The mark on her back lit up, brighter than ever before. The ancient crest now pulsed with life. Jace watched, in awe. "What's happening to you?" Ember's voice trembled. "I'm unlocking." The forgotten bloodline, the power sealed in her since childhood, it was waking up. Varnak raised his weapon. "You're still just one girl." But before he could fire, the cave trembled again. A rumble filled the air, then the sound of engines, ships, dozens of them. Outside, clouds broke apart as unknown vessels appeared, sleek, silver, bearing the ancient crest of the lost royal house. Ember's people had returned. Varnak stepped back, stunned. "No, it can't be." A voice echoed from the skies, amplified through ship speakers. "We heard your call, Ember Ali. The royal flame still lives." Ember stood taller, stronger. Her posture was no longer wild or unsure. She wasn't just a runaway anymore. She was a princess. Jace stepped beside her. "So, what now?" Ember looked at Varnak. "I take back what's mine." The enemy commander snarled and charged forward. Jace fired, but his blast bounced off Varnak's armor. Ember didn't wait. She met Varnak head-on, claws against metal, light against rage. The cave shook with every strike. Sparks flew, blood spilled, and with one final cry, Ember slashed across. Varnak's chest, he staggered, dropped to his knees. "You will never win," he spat. Ember looked down at him. Calm. Powerful. "I already did. I remembered who I am." She stepped back as he collapsed to the ground. The cave went silent. Outside, her people landed. Warriors bowed to her. One old alien stepped forward, wrinkled, with one mechanical eye. "Your mother would be proud," he said. Ember nodded, but her voice was quiet. She died thinking I was lost. The elder placed a hand on her shoulder. You were hidden. Now you are found. Jace stood behind them watching. He didn't bow. He just smiled. She's not a wild girl anymore, he thought. She's royalty, and she chose to fight beside me. But as the stars above shifted, something darker stirred, far across the galaxy in the deep black. Others had seen the signal too, and they would not be so easily defeated. She was untamable, until him, finale. The wind rushed through the trees of the moon's surface. Above, the stars burned brightly, no longer distant, no longer silent. Ships hovered across the sky like watchful giants. The royal crest of Ember's lost bloodline glowed again in the universe after so many years. Hope had returned. But danger had not left. Commander Varnak was dead, but he was only one head of a much larger beast. Jace stood beside Ember at the cliff's edge, overlooking the forest where it had all begun. The battle had passed. The bodies were burned. Her people were preparing to leave, but Ember wasn't ready to go yet. She didn't speak, just stared at the stars. Jace glanced at her. You're quiet. I remember everything now, she said. He waited. My mother's smile, the taste of crystal fruit from our palace garden, my brother's laugh. Then, fire, betrayal, screams. Jace said nothing. He knew some wounds could only bleed in silence, but the strangest memory, she continued, is how I used to feel safe. Jace's lips curved slightly. Do you feel safe now? She looked at him, her eyes glowing soft blue. Yes, she whispered, but not because of my blood, because of you. They sat in silence, but the peace didn't last long. A messenger ran up from the camp, one of the royal survivors. Princess Emberali, he shouted. The scanners picked up movement, a fleet, 30 ships, bearing the mark of the Obsidian Syndicate. Ember's eyes narrowed. They're faster than I expected. Jace frowned. Friends of Varnak? The soldier nodded. Worse. They were the ones who helped erase your family. They don't want the royal line to return. They'll wipe this whole moon clean to stop you. Ember turned to Jace. We can't run. He nodded. I wasn't planning to. Her warriors were strong, but tired. Half of them were survivors, of exile, not trained soldiers. The enemy was coming with full force, advanced weapons, ruthless minds. Jace knew what had to be done. We have to defend this moon, he said. But it's not even our planet, Ember said. It is now, he replied. Because this is where you came back. Preparations began. The warriors set traps using old pulse tech. Jace and Ember wired explosive routes under the trees. They rigged drone turrets and called in allies from neutral systems. But still, they were outnumbered. 30 enemy ships, barely a dozen loyal ones. Jace wiped sweat from his brow. Reminds me of old Earth war films. Ember raised an eyebrow. What's a film? He grinned. I'll show you one someday. Night fell, and with it, the enemy came. Flashes in the sky, ships breaking through clouds like falling meteors. The first wave of attack drones dropped into the forest. Laser fire lit up the trees. Explosions thundered through the earth. Jace and Ember fought side by side. She moved like lightning, claws flashing. Enemies falling one by one. He stayed behind her, covering her flank, blasting incoming droids before they got close. A perfect team. But the real battle hadn't even begun. The command ship landed, larger than any seen before. From its dark gates marched armored giants, elite assassins of the Obsidian Syndicate. Leading them was a figure taller than Varnak, wrapped in black metal with a cracked red helmet. His voice boomed. We came to erase the last mistake of the royal bloodline. Ember stepped forward. Her voice echoed across the battlefield. And I came to finish what my mother started. The two sides clashed. The forest turned into chaos. Trees burned. The ground cracked. The sky glowed with plasma. Fire. Jace was separated from Ember during the fight. He fought hard, blasting one enemy after another, but he was bleeding. He ducked behind a broken tree, panting. Then he saw her, Ember, surrounded. 5 assassins closing in. She was hurt, bleeding from her leg, but she stood tall, still untamed, still fierce. But even she couldn't take 5 at once. Jace made a choice. He ran, right into the line of fire, fired his last shot, took down one assassin, tackled another to the ground. A blade struck his side. He cried out, falling to his knees. "Jace!" Ember screamed. She burst forward, rage fueling her. The glow in her eyes became fire. She unleashed the full strength of her royal blood. The pulse mark on her back exploded with light. The earth shook. The assassins were lifted into the air, crushed by invisible force. The battle froze for a second. Even the enemy command ship powered down for a moment. She knelt beside Jace. His blood was everywhere. He smiled weakly. "Told you I wouldn't leave you. Don't you dare die," she whispered. "Not planning to," he said, "but you have to finish this." She stood, alone now. The battlefield cleared before her. The enemy leader stepped forward, staff glowing with dark energy. "You think your bond with a human makes you powerful?" "No," she said. "It makes me complete." She raised her hand. Power burst from her veins. Old tech in the trees reawakened. Energy lines formed across the land like veins of light. The sky turned silver. The enemy leader raised his staff. A massive wave of destruction fired toward her. She screamed and fired back. The two powers clashed in the air. The energy storm cracked the sky. The world seemed to stop. And then, only silence. When the light faded, Ember stood alone. Her enemies, gone. Her people, watching in awe. Jace lay behind her, unconscious, but breathing. She walked to him, tears falling freely now. "You saved me," she said. "You tamed me. Without chains." Jace blinked his eyes open. "I never wanted to tame you," he whispered. "I just wanted you to be you." She laughed softly, holding his hand. "Then you did it." Epilogue weeks passed. The moon was turned into a sanctuary, a place of peace. Ember became the new queen, not because of her blood, but because of what she had done. She united the survivors. She ended a war. She healed a galaxy. And beside her always stood Jace, not a prince, not a soldier, just a man who believed in her when no one else did. They stood on a balcony one night looking at the stars. She leaned into him. "You found me in a cage." He smiled. "You were never meant to stay in one." She kissed him gently, her claws soft against his skin. For the first time in her life, she was not a weapon, not a project, not a beast. She was a woman, a leader, a legend. And in the stories told across the stars for generations to come, they called her the girl no one could tame, until one human chose her over everything.